Welcome back to Stu Studio, Conservative Takes on Music. The 119th Congress is currently in session, and there are a number of bills that could actually affect the music industry. This from Billboard. There are a number of pending bills before the 119th Congress that are being closely watched by the music industry. These pieces of federal legislation could affect artists, consumers, and companies across many different areas of the business, including songwriting, licensing, tourism, royalties, ticketing, and live performances. Many of these bills have bipartisan support from both Democrats and Republicans in Congress, and industry players have been heavily involved in advocating for their passage. The Recording Academy and Recording Industry Association of America have signed onto many of them, as have corporate giants like the major record labels and Live Nation. So you may have heard of these, you may not have heard of any of them. Let's dig in. The RAP Act. First introduced in 2022, the Restoring Artistic Protection, or RAP Act, aims to limit the use of rap lyrics in federal prosecutions. It's long been controversial to cite lyrics as evidence of a crime, but the prosecutorial strategy has received spotlight in recent years as it's been wielded against high-profile rappers like Young Thug, Gunna, and Lil Durk. It is surprising that they also didn't mention David, who was recently convicted of a murder that he admitted to in a song years ago. I'm guessing that's not unintentional oversight or ignorance. They obviously know about that story, but just chose not to include the most high-profile case of this exact thing happening. And it's interesting that this act is only focusing on rap lyrics because legislation like this has been passed as repercussions of things that happened to Twisted Sister and Judas Priest way back in the 80s. I don't know why they think rap needs to be the genre that is the face of this act. Like, it's just restoring artistic protection. It has nothing to do with actual rap. It's just saying that lyrics are safe from prosecution. You would think in light of the recent David case, they would want to steer clear of rap and make it something else, not focus on rap where someone just got convicted of murder. The No Fakes Act. Some of these acronyms are just insane, too clever by half. And actually, when legislation does it, it's referred to as a backronym. The Nurture Originals, Foster Art, and Keep Entertainment Safe, or No Fakes Act, is Congress's attempt to protect artists from artificial intelligence deepfakes. This legislation will turn a person's digital likeness into a form of intellectual property, allowing artists to license out these rights and sue those that publish deepfakes without their consent. This is something I'm obviously for. I think that as AI gets better and less decipherable from reality, we need something in place to protect people's images and let them represent themselves instead of some made-up videos or even published songs out there. Like maybe Drake publishing a song that sounds like Tupac is singing it. Or at the very least, those artists should get paid for it if they agree to it. Next is the American Music Tourism Act. The proposed legislation aims to boost music-related travel and tourism in the U.S. by directing the Department of Commerce to make a plan for the promotion of sites like Graceland and the Grammy Museum. I don't think the Department of Commerce should be promoting sites like this. Places like Graceland or the Ryman Auditorium or the Red Rocks Amphitheater or the Hollywood Bowl should be historic landmarks which are protected, but they don't need to be promoted by the Department of Commerce for tourism. You could make an argument that boosted tourism will balance the budget and you should treat it like a marketing expense. But even if it pays off in the future, this is not the government's job. The American Music Fairness Act. Legislators and music industry players have been trying for decades to pass a law requiring terrestrial radio stations to pay performance royalties to artists and record labels. This is something that might surprise you wasn't already happening. Most recently brought back to both the House and Senate in January 25, the bills aim to close a loophole that allows AM/FM radio stations in the U.S. to only pay publishing royalties, unlike satellite radio stations and online streamers, which have to compensate both songwriters and performers when they plan a track. I think they meant play a track. Typo in Billboard. During a hearing, Kiss rocker Gene Simmons testified that it's un-American not to support the legislation. Now, if you know much about actual music business and royalties and rights, you know that publishing rights have to do with fair use of the song, and performing rights have to do with the recording and the one who recorded it in the first place. So in its current state, this means that Scooter Braun was actually getting any royalties from radio play for Taylor Swift's music before she got it back. So now under this new proposed legislation, she would have been getting paid even without owning the publishing rights. I don't think radio stations can afford to double their budget for royalties, so maybe they would have to do a split. But this is obviously a good idea, meaning if it was your song to begin with, you should be able to make a living off of it. It might deflate the value of an artist's catalog. Like now artists like the Red Hot Chili Peppers won't be able to sell their entire catalog for $300 million anymore because they're still going to get money off of the airplay on AM, FM radio stations if something like this passes. But I think that's a good thing. Next, the Main Event Ticketing Act. The Mitigating Automated Internet Networks, or MAIN for Event Ticketing Act, initially introduced in 2023, aims to beef up enforcement of President Obama's Better Online Ticket Sales BOTS Act. These backronyms are out of hand. This legislation would create new reporting and security requirements for online ticket sellers to combat automated bots that jump the line ahead of human buyers. Bills were reintroduced in the Senate in January 25 and the House in April 25. The proposed legislation has been approved by the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, meaning it now heads to the Senate floor and it's under consideration by the House Committee on Energy and Commerce. We all know about companies like Ticketmaster, StubHub, whoever else the evil companies are, mass buying up tickets so they can sell them at artificially inflated prices. So even if they don't sell all their tickets, they're still going to make a massive profit just for jumping in line with borderline DDoS attacks. This is something people have been complaining about for a very, very long time, and it seems like Obama did something about it with the Bots Act, but somehow it's perpetuating. I would say with things like Live Nation buying up the entire music production industry, this is definitely worth revamping. The Tickets Act. The Transparency in Charges for Key Events Ticket Act was first introduced in 23 with the aim of reforming the ticket buying process for concertgoers. The proposed legislation would increase pricing transparency by requiring event promoters to clearly and prominently display a ticket's full price, including fees and taxes, before checkout. This one I don't care so much about. Like, we all know that the service fee and the processing fee are bullshit and include a lot of overhead. Probably where companies like Ticketmaster and StubHub get most of their profits. But if you're not literate enough to read the fine print or know what you're paying for before you hit pay, you kind of deserve it. But maybe now it'll show what all those overhead fees are, like what is in the service charge and processing fee, like how much goes to their HR department, how much goes to their promotion, how much goes to their DEI sectors. I would be for that, but that would kill these companies immediately. So maybe I am for it. The Protecting Outdoor Concerts Act. The Protecting Outdoor Concerts Act would create an avenue for the Federal Aviation Administration to restrict the airspace around outdoor music festivals and concerts. I don't know how many times I've been to Warped Tour and you see a banner plane flying over. It's annoying, but I don't think it ever ruined the experience. Right now, the law allows major sporting events to apply for these sorts of low-flying plane restrictions, but organizers of music events cannot do the same. What I'm really curious about in this one is, does that include drones? Like, can we keep people from flying drones through crowds or straight up to the stage? That definitely takes you out of the experience and tarnishes shows. The TRAIN Act, another backronym, the Transparency and Responsibility for Artificial Intelligence Networks Act, would create a legal avenue for musicians and other creators to find out if their work was used to train generative AI model without a license. Technically speaking, the bill would allow artists to subpoena AI developers for their training data through a process similar to one that already exists to combat internet piracy. This is something I don't know how you could possibly enforce, because most AI training models are just being fed the entire internet, like all of human knowledge at once. So there's not really a way that you could restrict a certain artist who sues you. The only way to protect anybody would be to restrict everybody. It remains an open question whether AI companies are legally required to buy licenses to train their models on existing creative works. Numerous copyright lawsuits over this issue are currently making their way through the courts, including one by the major record labels, though some claims have been settled through licensing deals with AI music services Suno and Udio. And that might be one of the only solutions to this issue, is that AI companies pay for publishing royalties, which get distributed to everyone under that publisher, like BMI, ASCAP, CSAC. So whoever you're under pays you your little tiny piece of the pie. The CLEAR Act. Another AI training focused bill is the Copyright Labeling and Ethical AI Reporting CLEAR Act, which would require tech companies to submit publicly available reports to the U.S. Copyright Office detailing all the protected works used in training data for generative AI models. The legislation also suggests an enforcement mechanism, civil fines for AI companies that fail to complete these disclosures. So the CLEAR Act goes hand in hand with the TRAIN Act. It actually lays out more of an enforcement mechanism than it does actual restrictions. So maybe I just don't know enough about AI to have an opinion on this, because this makes it sound like AI modeling companies are actually feeding their programs specific artists to shape them in the way they want, rather than dumping the whole sum of human knowledge and creativity in all at once. The last one listed is Protect Working Musicians Act. This one is another AI-focused bill. It would allow independent musicians to team up and collectively negotiate licenses with AI companies and streaming platforms. In technical terms, the bill aims to achieve this by exempting indie artists from antitrust scrutiny over group bargaining. Similar exemptions already exist for Major League Baseball as well as for farmers and agricultural producers. So it's like making a union without being part of a union. And yes, artists should be able to negotiate and have some power behind their negotiation. This seems like it will be a little bit disorganized, just saying that artists can team up, but I'm sure there will be another third-party business that forms around this exact idea. So if you're in the brokering business, this is a brand new opportunity for you. But as expected, about half of these bills have something to do with AI and keeping the artist's works protected. Someday it's not going to matter. Every piece of knowledge is going to be part of the big AI, but some of these are definitely going to help in that transition. But if any of these seem extra important to you, make sure you pay attention to how your congressman votes. Because music, recording, performance, writing is among the most important achievement of humans and should be kept organic as long as we can hold on. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Stu Studio, and remember, Jesus loves you.